Hey there, friends. I just wanted to say thank you so much for being a part of the first lesson of the Bible Bistro University, Genesis chapter 1. And so today we're going to launch out into Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 31. And I hope you'll enjoy this session. We're going to basically build our own outline as we go through, look at the different stages in the chapter, some of the different pieces in the chapter, the pericopes that build the chapter, and talk about some of the important issues that are in Genesis chapter 1. So I'm so glad you're on board and you've joined us. Enjoy the study that follows. See you soon. Bye. Hey there, everybody. Well, here we are with Genesis chapter 1, verses 1 through 31. You can see that I have my Google Docs screen up, and I've got a copy of the King James Version here, not because I think King James is the only version, but because this is most convenient for me. It's the one I use when I do my Bible study. So, and it's easy to read. There's not going to be anything here that you don't understand because it's King James. So I hope you'll enjoy this. We're going to look at Genesis chapter 1, verse 31, and begin here with what I'd like to call the preamble. Let me zoom my screen in here, and we'll get a little closer up, and I'll get all this stuff around the top of the screen moved out of the way. All right. So the first two verses, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the Spirit of God moved upon the face of the waters. Now, as I said, right here, we're going to separate this out, and why don't we just go ahead and insert, I want to put a little horizontal line right there. So we're going to call this our preamble. Let's center that, and we'll just write here in the preamble right there. So we have our preamble. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. So we have this, we have the overarching picture of what God has done. Okay. Now we're going to get specific with each day in chapter 1. Chapter 2, we're going to narrow the focus down even further and talk about the creation of man in the garden. So chapter 1 is a little bit larger in focus, but now we get more detailed in chapter 2. But in the very beginning here, we have this preamble. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Verse 2, you'll hear a lot of people talk about the old earth theory or previous earth theory. And that is that there was an earth before this one, the one we're on now, and that it was destroyed by the judgment of God, and then He is recreating the earth. I've never agreed with that. I always feel like that what we have here in chapter 1, verses 1 and 2 is not an old earth theory. We just have the record of God's creation. So just for example, let's say you were going to make a pot, and you knew exactly what kind of pot you wanted to make, a ceramic pot. You knew the kind of clay you wanted, you knew how you were going to spin it, you knew how you were going to fire it, you knew the colors you were going to add to it, you knew exactly what you're going to use that pot for. And so you could go into your studio or wherever you have your wheel, and you could create that pot. But what God does is He makes all the elements necessary for the clay, everything He needs to build the wheel, everything He needs for the kiln. He creates all of that, and then He prepares to make His pot. But before He does it, He takes all the essential ingredients for making the pot, and He creates it. And you'll notice that it says right here in verse 2, the earth was without form and void. That particular Hebrew expression is tohu vavohu, and it means no shape, nothing inside. So don't think of a round globe just sitting there in space that's dark. This is just all the material He needs to build this world, whatever that is. God knows. And so it's just, He creates it, it's there, and it doesn't have any shape, it doesn't have any inhabitants, it doesn't have anything. And so we find it formless and void, but we know something's about to happen because the Spirit of God is moving upon the face of the waters. So in addition to all the stuff that he makes, there's also water present because God has made that as well. Darkness is there. Why is darkness there? Because he's not created light yet. So in this vast universe, the only light that is available right now is the very presence of God. And so as the Spirit of God hovers above the waters, God is about to work. And so we have the Word of God, we have the person of God, and we have the Spirit of God all present right here in this creative moment. So the Trinity is present. All right, so we come down here to verse 3, and we're going to call this the first day. Let me go ahead and make that bold for us. This is the first day, and you notice the very first thing that happens on the very first day is God said. God said, let there be light. So light is the thing that's going to be created. Now, we've already mentioned that it was dark. Darkness was upon the face of the deep. The very first thing that comes here in the creative order is light. God makes light. Let there be light, he says. And there was light. You'll notice that in each one of these creative moments, each day, God speaks. It's because this is how things were made. God spoke it into being, and then there is his ability to form it and shape it. So God said there was light, let there be light, there was light. God saw the light, that it was good. God divided the light from the darkness. Now the darkness he did not create, the darkness was already present. He creates light, and now he divides the two. The light he calls day, the darkness he calls night, and the evening and the morning were the first day. Let's go ahead and insert here another horizontal line, and we're going to call this the second day. Okay? So now we have the second day beginning in verse 6. Before I leave day 1, however, let us go back up here and look at this. The day he called night, it was evening, and it was morning. Okay, the evening and the morning were the first day. A lot of people say that these are not 24-hour periods. However, what you have in Genesis chapter 1 is you have a 24-hour expression. Evening and morning is the way the Hebrew mind kept their days, weeks, months, years. They based this on a lunar calendar, and because the moon rises in the evening, you have from the setting of the sun until the going down of the sun the next day as a 24-hour period. It's a lunar cycle. So their days are lunar, their months are lunar, their years are lunar. Our calendar is based on a solar cycle. Theirs was on a moon cycle. So evening and morning was day 1. So we have a 24-hour period expressed in this expression. Actually, the Hebrew word day is never meant to express an epoch of time. We're talking about dispensations here in Genesis 1 through 11, but a day is never a dispensation. A day is always a 24-hour period, or it means someday. Like there's going to be a day that comes. So it's an expression of hope or assertion about a future time or a period of time. But whenever it's used like this, it means a 24-hour period. This, we've tried to insert our evolutionary theory into the creative story, and it just doesn't work because God gives us exactly what we have here. Morning and evening, the first day. We come to the second day, and notice we have God speaking again. Of course he does. This time, we're going to talk about a firmament. A firmament. I can't say the word. A firmament in the midst of the waters. What is a firmament? It is a dividing tool. It is what God is going to use to separate the waters from the waters. So it's the Hebrew word means vault. Think of a steel or an iron vault, a domed thing. And above it is one thing and below it is another thing. The vault separates. So here we have the firmament. It's in the midst of the waters. So in the waters, there's this firmament that God makes. And he says, let it divide the waters from the waters. So God made the firmament. He spoke it into being. Then we have the creative act of the firmament dividing the waters from the waters which were above the firmament. And it was so. And God called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. So we have this dividing thing that separates the waters above and the waters beneath. Now, we still don't have any land yet, but we have light and we have darkness, we have evening and we have morning, but we just don't have any land yet. So we have waters. Now they're divided, the waters above and the waters beneath. And the firmament is the thing that does that, and he calls it heaven. So we can look up to the heaven and we can say, well, that is the vault, the heavenly vault that he made to separate the waters above from the waters beneath. Okay, so let's end the second day. Again, you'll notice the expression evening and morning. So this is a 24-hour period. Let's not get too hung up about that either. A lot of people were just all upset about the fact that I would say, or anyone would say, that this is a 24-hour period, but God's doing this. So if he does this, certainly he can make it into a 24-hour period. He can do these things in a 24-hour period. He doesn't need thousands of years to do these things. All right, now here we have the third day. And let me highlight that and we'll make it bold. Here's our third day. And notice what we have again on the third day. We have God said. And God said, let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear. And it was so. All right, now where did the dry land come from? Well, remember back up here in the preamble, God created the heavens and the earth was without form and void. So all the material is there. The water is there. The material for the earth is there. So now he just has the dry land appear out of the water. And of course it does, because God said, let it happen. And it was so. And God called the dry land earth, and gathered together the waters called the seas. He called seas. And God saw that it was good. And God said, so now we're going to have his second, and let's divide that. We'll put a little asterisk right there. Come down here to his second statement. This again is our third day. So we'll come down here to this second statement of God on the third day. Let the earth bring forth grass. Okay, so the third day we have the dry land appearing. Okay, that is what is happening on the third day. And on the third day we have the earth bringing forth grass. So that is happening on the third day. The herb yielding seed, the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth, and it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit. You notice this progression here. We have God saying it, and then we have the fulfillment of it. Of course, it's going to be exactly as he said it, because his creative word is the thing that is bringing all this to pass. And God saw that it was good. Now, one of the things that we've not mentioned yet is this, it was good. God saw that it was good. we keep seeing that pop up. And the reason why it's good, let me ask you that question. Why do you think it's good? Well, it's good because God said it. He does a thing, and it's good because it flows from his character. God is good. The psalmist puts it like this in Psalm 119, verse 68, Thou art good and doest good. So all that he does extends from all that he is, and he is good. So we have on the third day, the dry land appearing, and then we have all this herbage that is grown, the grass, the trees, the herb, all of that comes up on the dry land. So, and it was evening and morning, the third day. All right, let's put our divider in here. And we'll now be looking at the fourth day. And here's the fourth day. Notice how it begins again. Please don't Please don't be upset that I'm pointing this out another time, because I'm going to point it out every time. God said. His creative work is an act of speaking. He speaks it into existence. This is the Word of God. Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven. Okay, so we're going to have lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. So now we've had the creation of light earlier on the first day. Now we're going to divide up that light. So there's going to be light in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs, seasons, for days and years. Let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth. Now we understand it, don't we? We understand that these lights are timekeepers for us. They're season markers for us. They're yearly markers for us. And so we have the lunar calendars, we have the solar calendars. All that is within God's plan, because He made these lights to help us with seasons, days, and years, and to give light upon the earth. And I don't know where you are, but where I am today, it's absolutely beautiful outside. We have a clear sky this afternoon, and it is gorgeous. Notice it says, and it was so. So He's making these lights. And verse 16, God made two great lights. So not only do we have lights in the firmaments, but we have two major lights, two great lights. One to rule the day, the lesser to rule the night, the stars also. God set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth, one to rule over the day and one to rule over the night, to divide the night from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. To divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the fourth day. Okay, let's put our marker in here. And we'll put our horizontal line right there. And we're getting ready to look at the fifth day. Alrighty. The fifth day comes along. Another 24-hour period in which God is going to create. And what do we have? God said. Again, this is going to happen with each successive day. God speaks. Let the waters bring forth abundantly. All right, now here we had the creation of the lights on the fourth day. We had the earth coming forth on this day, the third day, the dry land. Then we had all the green that was growing. Then we had the lights, the two great lights, the sun and the moon. And now God says, let the waters bring forth abundantly. We go back to the waters again. Last time we saw the waters, He was dividing the waters from one another. Let them bring forth abundantly the moving creature that hath life, the fowl that flies above the earth, in the open firmament of heaven. And God created, and here's what we're going to see, the whales, the living creatures that move in the waters, and every winged fowl. So we're going to have, I'll just highlight these. The great whales, how wonderful. Love to look at those creatures. Every living creature that moveth. So He just says, if it's in the water, God made it. And the waters brought forth abundantly. Every winged fowl after His kind. Well, God is the one who's making the kinds, isn't He? And God saw that it was good. Let's go ahead and put a return right there. And God blessed them. So we have God speaking them into existence. Now we have God's blessing on them here in this fifth day. Be fruitful, multiply, fill the waters in the seas, and the fowl let the fowl multiply in the earth. And the evening and the morning were the fifth day. And we're going to put our marker right there because we're getting ready to have a new day. So God ends the fifth day with this blessing. How beautiful that is. Okay, so now we have, actually, why don't we do a return here? Do a second return. And we'll say this is the sixth day. And we will make that bold. That'll stand out. And the sixth day begins, God said. Again, the creative word of God. Let the earth bring forth living creatures after his kind, the cattle, the creeping thing, the beast of the earth. Okay, so all of this is what God makes on day 6. And it was so. God made the beast after the earth, after his kind, the cattle after their kind, everything that creeps upon the earth after his kind, and God saw that it was good. Okay. And God said, okay, now God's going to speak again. Let us make man in our image. All right. We will highlight that because here we have another thing that's being made on the 6th day. Let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over the cattle, and over all the earth, over every creeping thing that creepeth upon the earth. Now this is a catalog, isn't it, of everything that God has made that's alive, that has breath. God has made all these things, and so he sets man with dominion. I'm going to make that bold, and I'm going to underline that. He gives man dominion over everything that has been made. So God created man in his own image. In the image of God created he him. Let me return that. This is so beautifully poetic, I don't want to lose that. And God blessed them. So just like we had the blessing up here of all that is in the waters, now we have a blessing here of man. God blessed them. And God said unto them, be fruitful and multiply, replenish the earth and subdue it. Have dominion. There's our word again. We're going to make that bold and underlined. Have dominion over the fish of the sea, over the fowl of the air, over every living thing that moves upon the earth. And God said. So here's our third statement now. God said, behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, in the which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat, to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, to everything that creeps upon the earth, wherein there is life. Why don't we divide out all these everys? We got a lot of everys, don't we? That's 1. That's 2. That's 3. Every fowl of the air and every thing that creeps upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given the green herb for meat. Okay? So we have every tree. Let's make that bold. We have every beast. Let us make that, or highlight that. Every fowl. We will highlight every fowl. We have everything that creeps. We will highlight that. Wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat. So all of these things I've given you. We need to separate that one too, don't we? Every herb. Lots of everys here. Every herb, every tree, and every beast, every fowl, every creeping thing, every green herb. So God makes this command. He blesses us, and he says, I have given you. So this is how we're going to survive, at least in this dispensation. God has given just these herbal ingredients for the care of man. And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the 6th day. So the 6th day is busy. Cattle, creeping things, and beasts. Men after the image of God. Men have something that nothing else has. Dominion over all the rest. Man is their keeper. Every green herb, every tree which is fruit, to you it shall be for meat. Let me put that aside too. And to every beast, every fowl, everything that creeps, every green herb for meat. So there it is, repeated. And it was so. And God saw, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. All right, well, that concludes chapter 1. And you'll notice, just as we divide this and highlight the things that are going on in this passage, it's very important to recognize what God is up to here. He is speaking, He is creating. It is all according to His Word. He's doing this over and over again, and each time He says it's good because it is good. And remember, where was our sixth day? Here we go. In the sixth day we have, it was very good. So He actually emphasizes that right there. It was very good. So everything because God made it, and it proceeds from His character, from His very person. Of course, it's going to be very good. The evening and the morning were the sixth day. Now, we're done with chapter 1, but I want you to come back, and we're going to look at chapter 2 next time, and we're going to narrow it down. This inductiveness now brings us to the specific creation of man in the garden. So, I hope you'll join me then on the Bible Bistro University.